Liberty Institute. Kelly
You know, you just heard about judges. Some say that it really doesn't make a difference, these Supreme Court appointments. Well, listen, as somebody who just had 2 victories at the Supreme Court in the same week, 3 weeks ago, I can tell you it really does make a difference who's on the United States Supreme Court. And it's good for religious freedom as well. Both those are religious freedoms cases. Let me start with the basics. Some of you might not know, who is First Liberty? We're the largest legal organization in the country that all we do is religious freedoms cases. And we do that across the country. Now, if I was here 7 years ago, I would tell you we just did 47 cases last year. But move 7 years forward. Last year we had 447 cases. So you can see what's happening in the attacks on religious freedom. I obviously can't run through those. Let me just give you a little sample of some different areas that I think are concerning to give you a feel. One would be the attacks that we're seeing, the new attacks on people who are in our senior living facilities and telling them they can't pray, they can't hold Bible studies. And these are people who can't really leave, a lot of them. They can't go out to another place. This sign that I'm going to show you in the first slide says it all. This is Donna Dunbar. This is what they put up in her senior center, that they could not use their common area room for a Bible study, and all Christian music was banned. And you think, well, that's just outrageous that they would do this type of thing to somebody. Well, you didn't realize that this was not as outrageous as it could get because you haven't met Ken Hauge, who's the next picture I can show you. Ken is an 80-year-old retired minister in a senior living facility. And again, a number of the people said, look, we can't get out. Would you do a Bible study? Ken said, sure, I'd be honored to. We have a common area room any of us can use and put in for. I'll put in for it. They said, oh, no, you can use it, but you can't use it if you're going to study the Bible. Well, he was shocked, but Ken thought, well, that's okay. I'll just do it in my apartment. He's now received an eviction notice that if he holds a Bible study in his apartment, he will be evicted. Now, look, I mean, we all know somebody in these senior living facilities, and one day we're all, for the most part, probably going to be in one of these living facilities. This is something we cannot allow to happen. Religious freedom has to be in those living facilities where they live. The next set of cases that shows you the type of thing are the Airmont, New York case. We have cases with Jewish synagogues in Los Angeles, in Dallas, in New York, all across the country where they're being attacked just for trying to have a synagogue, just for trying to have a place of worship. The major case we have in Dallas involves them meeting every health and safety regulation. So why did the government come after them? Well, because people in that community realized if they could close down their synagogue, they could force these Jewish people to move from their community because these are Orthodox Jews and they have to walk to synagogue. So what was the hang-up? They met all the health and safety codes and all the regulations. No. They said, you don't have enough parking spaces. They're Orthodox Jews. They walk to the synagogue. And just so you think this stuff doesn't just happen in like Germany, I want to show you a picture of the rabbi's car and what was done to him. So this is happening across the country. We're having to defend synagogues all over this nation. It's the only area of hate crimes that is rising in anti-Semitism. So these are important cases. Now, a lot of you know about the Klein case. Aaron and Melissa Klein. I think a lot of you have seen Aaron and Melissa in Sweet Cakes, where they were told because they would not do a same-sex wedding cake, a custom cake, because of their faith, that they were actually fined $135,000. Their business has been bankrupted. And you've probably seen the death threats to their children, everything that's been happening. Well, one piece of good news. Just 3 weeks ago, the United States Supreme Court took this case, vacated the decision below, sent it back down and said, you need to redo this decision in light of concepts of religious hostility and the Masterpiece case from last year. They said, we're going to give you one more try. Now, the good news is we vacated that horrible decision, but we've still got work to do. So that's still a battle, and we're going to work our way all the way back up and get a victory, not only for Aaron and Melissa, but for every person of faith who's trying to run their business and follow their conscience and follow the Lord with what they do. That should never be something that you could be attacked and have your business destroyed by the government. The last area I'll mention to you is an area that we're seeing a lot of attacks. In fact, a Colorado congressman talked about 3 or 4 of our cases earlier today, and that is in the military. Now, a lot of you probably know about Oscar Rodriguez. Oscar Rodriguez is a guy who served 33 years in our military, was a veteran, and you've probably seen the flag folding ceremonies where they slowly unfold and fold the flag back. Oscar has a wonderful speech that goes with that, and it ends by saying, "God bless our flag, God bless our troops, God bless America." And a man who was retiring said, "Would you come and say that at my private retirement ceremony?" Oscar said, "I'd be honored." And so Oscar did that. Unbeknownst to Oscar, the colonel who led that base had decided he didn't want anybody mentioning God on the base, even in a private retirement ceremony. So, and video cameras going, you can look at this online. You can go to our website at firstliberty.org, or you can find it all over the place. Video cameras going, Oscar, as he gets up, as the flag is being unfolded, uniformed military grabs him, a United States citizen, and throws him out of the room because he's going to mention God. This should never happen in our country, but these are the types of attacks. Think of what that did to Chuck Roberson, who was having his retirement ceremony, ruined his retirement ceremony. Think of what it did to Oscar. This is the type of thing that's going on in our military, of all places. And the most recent case we have in the military is where we represent the POW MIA group that has put up a display in the VA. You've probably seen these it's a round table with 1 rose, with a place setting and a Bible to represent that we're praying and that we want these people to come home and that we're waiting for them. Well, a lawsuit has now been filed by Mikey Weinstein saying you have to remove that Bible. You can't have a Bible on a POW MIA table because it's in a government building, the VA building. Unbelievable. Now, this is not just a Bible in this particular case, the people we represent. This Bible was donated by a 95-year-old veteran who spent 9 months in a German prisoner of war camp, and that Bible is what got him through that. And the outrage that they're trying to forcibly remove a Bible from the POW MIA table. Now, some of you are saying, gosh, I was kind of upbeat, and then this Shackelford guy came talking about all these cases, and I got depressed. So let me tell you the good news. The good news is we have a method of dealing with these, and we're winning these cases, as you heard. The typical approach in this area of the law, whether you're a left-wing or right-wing nonprofit legal group, is you raise as much money as you can, you hire as many attorneys as you can with that money, you put them in an office in D.C. or New York or L.A., and then you have them fly around the country and cover many of your issues as you can. That is not our model. Our model is there's all these people of faith who went to law school because they wanted to stand for what was right. And 30 years later, these are now the best litigators at the best and most powerful law firms in the country, in fact, in the world. And they've done honorable work for their clients, but they've never gotten to do a case for their faith or their country. So we go and we sit down with them and we say, look, if we give you everything you need, are you willing to give your time on one of these cases? And they're like, man, I've been waiting 35 years, sign me up. Well, we know what's going to happen when we give them that first case. For the first time in their life, all their talent, all their gifts, all their training, everything they've learned is for the first time lined up with their love for their country and their faith. They have never felt anything like that before. It's kind of unfair, but we now know we have them for the rest of their lives as one of our network attorneys. And they give cover to the younger attorneys who get to work on these cases and are never going back. So if you were to go through the top 100 law firms in the United States, you'd find that most of those firms don't just donate their time. Sometimes they literally fight each other over who gets to donate their time. So we get these dream teams. And I originally did it because I thought it would save money. And sure, average case, every $10,000 we spend, we get $60,000 donated. So it's multiplying the resources. But the thing I didn't count on was the win-loss ratio. If you watch the nonprofit world, you'll find they're fighting major monsters, the government, everything else. If they're good, maybe they win 40% of their cases. Our win rate now, 18 years in a row, has been above 90% every single year. People all over the country giving of themselves. This is how it's supposed to work. We're going to stand here and fight, and we're not losing religious freedom in this country. Now, but let me tell you the even greater news. We are starting to change history. Things that I thought not even possible in the area of religious freedom, and I've been doing this 30 years, are beginning to happen. What do I mean? Number one, judges. You just heard from Gary Marks the incredible job that JCN has been doing. We committed, we've never done this, but when Trump got elected and started talking about judges, we thought this could have the greatest impact on religious freedom in our lifetime. So we started getting involved. We started doing research. And the first justice, as you saw, Justice Gorsuch, probably has more writings on religious freedom as a lower court judge than any judge we had ever seen. And every single opinion was excellent. It was correct, it was right on, and it was exactly what the Constitution says. This was a guy we wanted, and we now have him on the court. Justice Kavanaugh. Justice Kavanaugh donated time with me on a religious liberty case 18 years ago as a young attorney. This is a guy that's been committed to the First Amendment and religious freedom, so much so that he would give his time. And it's not just, and let me tell you, when we were there in February, I can't tell you how nice it was to look to my left and see Justice Gorsuch and to look to my right and see Justice Kavanaugh. They were incredible on religious freedom, and they were both on the right side in that case. It makes a huge difference, but it's not just the Supreme Court, it's the lower court. Now, I can't go through all these, but let me give you one example. There was a guy top of his class from law school, goes to work for one of the biggest law firms in the country. After about 5 or 6, 7 years, said, I want to go do something more significant. He goes to work at the Justice Department, putting away terrorists. He won an award for convicting terrorists and defending our national security. And then Holder came in as a new attorney general and started bringing politics into his work. And this guy said, that's not why I'm here, so he left. Well, where did he go? He came to work at First Liberty. He was our deputy general counsel. Why do I say was? Because at age 39 years old, President Trump picked him to be a federal judge for the rest of his life. This is a guy you'll never have to worry about his integrity. He would rather gnaw his arm off than to move away from the Constitution. He is always going to do the right thing, and he's going to be there at the right time. And that is happening over and over. Let me show you a map. This is what happened just in the first 2 years. 85 judges appointed for life on those courts. That's going to affect the future, many years. But let me show you what's even better. This is how many we're working on now. The next slide, 150. So we are doubling really what we're working on. If we do this, what's going to happen in the next year to year and a half is going to set things for the next 30 years. Judges who want to follow the Constitution, not politicians. Let me tell you the other reasons I'm excited. There are 2 religion clauses. There's an establishment clause and there's a free exercise clause. Both have one major case that has been used to cause so much problem for religious freedom. Under the free exercise clause, it's called the Smith decision. And basically, you can't even bring a free exercise claim. People just bring free speech claims because this decision has caused so much damage. Well, many of you have heard about the Coach Kennedy case. I think I have a picture of Coach Kennedy. Coach Kennedy is the guy who was fired because after the football game, he went to a knee to say a silent prayer by himself out on the field. The Ninth Circuit said that coaches aren't allowed to pray in public if anybody can see them. We went to the Supreme Court. To our shock, the Supreme Court said cert denied, which usually means your case is over. And then somebody said, wait, there's a statement attached. And the statement was from the 4 conservative justices, and all it takes is 4 to take a case. They said, this is just cert denied for now. Go back down. There's something we want to establish at the trial court. By the way, we found the Ninth Circuit decision below very troubling. And then they, in the last part, said, we also noticed that the claim to reach us first was a free speech claim, not a free exercise claim. Maybe that's because of this Smith decision that has caused so much damage to religious freedom. But we haven't been asked to review that decision yet. So we are on the verge of opening up the free exercise of religion in ways that it hasn't been for decades. And then the last one I'll tell you about is the victory I come with you from the Supreme Court in the Bladensburg Cross case. The Establishment Clause is our other religion clause, and the Lemon Test is what has been created 50 years ago in a bad decision, well named the Lemon Test. And that is what has been used to use the Establishment Clause to really twist it and contort it to attack religion in public. The founders would be appalled by that. The Establishment Clause is about not establishing a national church and not forcing people to support that. But Lemon says separation of church and state and all these other concepts that are not in the Constitution that end up making the government, you've seen the cases, we've got to tear down nativity scenes. We've got to look at, 10 Commandments monuments and all these things. The founders would have never done that. Well, in the Bladensburg Cross case, we had a memorial that was put up 100 years ago by mothers who lost their sons in World War I. And a lawsuit was filed saying, you've got to tear this down because 50 years later, this became being on public land, even though it was originally on private land, and you got to tear it down. And by the way, if you had to tear that down, you'd have to go into Arlington National Cemetery, which is just 2 miles away, and tear that down. Well, we didn't just go for a win. We said, not only should you uphold this memorial, these attacks that have been going on for 50 years have to stop. Lemon needs to be overruled. And that's a bold thing that we ask to be done, but we have justices on the court now who want to follow the Constitution, not what some liberal judge said 50 years ago. And they looked at the Constitution, and not only did we win in favor of the Bladensburg Cross and stop all these attacks against veterans' memorials and religious symbols, 6 justices attacked Lemon and said it's no good, refused to apply it, and in my opinion, the Lemon test is dead, and the weapon that's been used against religion is over. So I just want to end by saying, I know there's people in this room who supported us. You just made history. We just changed 50 years of bad attacks, and we are turning a different direction. If you're not involved, I'd love for you to be involved because we are just at the beginning of making history. And an easy way to do it, I'm going to give you permission to pull out your cell phones and just text the word liberty, just liberty, to the number 474747. We've got a slide. And we will get you on the alert where every 2 weeks you'll see the cases, you'll see what's happening. We need to be united. Everybody needs to know, because I think we're just beginning in what is going to be an incredible decade for religious freedom. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.